Outbound Power, great company to deal with. I would definitely consider purchasing future products from them. Like I said, I am planning on getting a future F3800 Plus in the distance. So, hi, my name is Jeff, and I'm reviewing the Anker SOLIX F3800 Plus battery backup unit, as well as the Anker SOLIX home power panel unit. I started with just the main panel and ran a connection here to the home power panel, and also ran out of that home power panel to my new sub panel. I moved some circuits through some conduit over to the sub panel that I wanted to be backed up. I have about 15 circuits over there. As you can see, the home power panel is plugged into the F3800 Plus. It's able to charge the unit through this cable, as well as take on the load if there is a power outage. And so we can actually test that real quick. I currently have the circuit in the garage moved over to this backup as well, so you will see the lights flicker briefly, but it has a advertised 20 millisecond switchover rate. And so as soon as I shut off the power here, we will see the lights flicker, and then power should be restored. And so that was so quick, I'm not even sure if the camera caught it, but we are on backup power now. And if I click on the display here, I can see it is running 1342 watts of output, and is currently powering my home, and well, at least the 15 or so circuits that I have moved over. And so that includes things for me like my refrigerators, freezers, well pump, my hot water heater, and my office. And that's about it. And then obviously the garage as well, where I have some freezers out here. And so, yeah, very, very happy with the unit. It estimates right now under the current load, 1300 watts, that I'll have 2.5 hours of remaining battery. I do aim in the future to buy a second unit. You can buy a second unit over here. It has a second breaker to allow 2 units to power. Right now, with 1 unit connected, I get 6,000 watts of total output potential at 25 amps. So 25 amps at 240 volts would be that 6,000 watts. And if I was to add a second one, then that doubles to 12,000 watts. And so with the second one, my power capacity would double as well, so I'd be at about 5 hours right now with 2 connected. And in addition to that, I can add expansion batteries on top of these. I believe each unit can take 2 expansion batteries, but I could be mistaken, it might be more than that. For my needs, this is great. I also, over here on my main panel, have a lockout you can see here. This lockout allows me to shut off utility power and slide it over and turn on my generator input. And the generator's on the other side of this wall here, connected with a 50 amp cable. And so for me, the power goes out, I get a notification on my phone, because now I'm not able to notice when the power goes out since most of my circuits are on it. I can come out here and turn on the generator if it's an extended outage of say past this 2.5 hours, which now it says it's about 2.7 hours. And I can come out here and start up the generator, turning off the utility power to my home. That's a safety feature to make sure that I'm not sending power through the lines, especially lines that could be down or could be being worked on by the utility company. So when I start up my generator, it has a 1100 watt running wattage, so 50 amps as well, maximum for it. With it, I'm able to power the whole house, as long as I'm not going over that 50 amps. So I obviously wouldn't be running the dryer and things like that at the time. But if I do that and leave my my circuit on that is powering the home power panel, then the generator will power my main panel, which would in turn power the home power panel, and both charge my battery and no longer use the battery's capacity, and would just be running off of the generator. So good way to augment the different usages. If I'm running low on battery and want to be able to run longer, if it's an extended outage, then I can do that with the generator. Another option would be I could purchase, which I have tested and it actually does work, a part from Anker that is a generator cable, and it actually plugs in. It's the same type of cable here, but it has a little power brick on it, a little DC transformer, and it could plug in here to my second port on the home power panel, and then I could plug my generator into that. I believe it uses a 30 amp port for the generator bypass, and that's what it's called, the generator bypass port or cable. And so I wouldn't be able to get the full capacity of my generator since it's a 50 amp, but I could get up to 30 amps into that bypass, and or maybe it's only 25. I think it's a 30 amp cable, but 25 amps that it supports maximum with this breaker. So that could give me another 25 amps of power to double team the power panel with both my 25 amps of power coming from my F3800 Plus and 25 amps coming from my generator. If I wanted to do it that way, that would be another option. This guy here, the home power panel, gives you a potential of 50 amps total. I currently, since I only have one unit, I'm only running it as a 25 amp, but if I had a second unit, then it would run at 50 amps total with battery backup, or I have utility power, then it would run at 50 amps from my main panel. It actually uses a little bit more than that though, because let's say I have used some of this and it needs to charge back up, some of my battery backup, and I'm using power from my sub panel and have it nearly maxed out, then under worst case scenario you could have 50 amps being used by the sub panel, and then another I think it's like up to 20 amps for it to charge the battery backup unit. And so if I was going to be in a F3800 Plus situation, then I would want to run a larger cable. Here I only have 6 gauge wire coming back to my main. 6 gauge is all I need for the sub panel because 50 amp max is all that it's going to have. But coming back to the main, I'd probably want to have something like 4 gauge or 2 to 4 gauge, I guess, to be able to handle that up to like 100 amp service, and probably would put a 100 amp breaker in there instead of the 50. But yeah, for my needs, this is covering me well. I'm going to go to restore power here. And so now the unit will be back on utility, and let's see, did I get the right one? Yes. And so it might take a second to switch over there. I'm not sure how it prioritizes the power at that point, if it's oh, there it goes. You saw the click there. So it waited and it probably did some tests on its end to make sure that the grid power was sufficient, and then decided it was, and so it clicked over. And so you saw the quick flicker of the lights, and we did go back to utility power, and now this thing is charging. So now instead of an output of about 1200 watts, it says input 1900 watts. So I have it set in the app to charge to 100%. Because I'm using it as a backup solution now. It also has solar generator ports on it, so I could connect solar panels, which I do have portable ones for when I go camping and such, which this is great for as well. I have the smaller C1000 for camping, but could easily take this as well since it's on wheels if I had a more extended camping trip and needed more power out there. But with that, I would be able to kind of change my power system and say to maybe only save 20% or 30% for actual backup, and then have 70% of it feeding my grid. And in that situation, it will not only feed and power my sub panel, but it also is able to, a bidirectional circuit, it's able to send it back through to my main panel from the connection to the home power panel. It's actually able to go back into the main panel as well and feed that circuit. So it has two little receivers, load receivers on my mains coming in. And so basically if it sees that, hey, there's amperage there, it's able to determine how much it can send back to my main grid. If it sees no amperage there, then it won't send anything back, so that it doesn't send back to the power company or anything. And those safety functions are built in. Obviously it would cut off the circuit at that point, so nothing would be going to my main panel when it does that switch over, that click. But it would be able to otherwise send things to my other devices on the main panel. So let's say my dryer or something is running and I'm wanting to use some of my stored solar energy that's on the battery. It could use it down to 20%, and at which point it would stop in case I did have a power outage, so that way I have some capacity left. And you can set those to whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with. And so that would allow me to have to kind of augment my energy and use some of my solar. Right now I just have a couple, like I said, portable units, so on sunny days I can set them up out there temporarily and be gaining some solar energy and use some of that to power my grid and see my energy bill go down a little bit from that. And then kind of as I go, build a larger solar system on my roof and run those to this. I don't have the specs offhand. Those will be available on their website, but I want to say it's somewhere in the range of like 2,000 watts. Maybe the more units you have tied together, the more the battery can handle as far as input power. So I want to say that you can even charge up to 6,000 watts depending on how many units you have daisy chained together. And so it can charge, or it can take on quite a load from solar. A 6,000 watt solar system would be pretty large. I have priced them out in the past and was going to buy a whole system that ended up falling through, but it was, I want to say it was only in the neighborhood of like 3.5 kilowatt system. So 6,000 watts, 6 kilowatt would be a lot. So yeah, even I think just the single unit by itself maybe can handle about 2,000 watts, give or take, input power, and so that would still be a good amount, especially if you're storing that up and not necessarily using it as it's coming in. Depending on your use case, very, very neat system. Really a lot of flexibility and lets you kind of do the power your way and not necessarily have to break the bank to do so. With this unit here, I was somewhere in the range of $2,300 on sale. This guy here about $1,200 or $1,300, and then the panel I bought at Home Depot for a little over $100 a panel. And then the wiring actually does get more expensive than you realize, so you definitely have to account for that. I probably spent a couple $100 on wiring and reused some that I already had as well. But all said and done, not too expensive for kind of a DIY system, and all pretty straightforward to install as well. I do have some electricians that are friends, so that helped in the terms of having them guide me and kind of walk through the work with me. So I made sure I was following code and doing things appropriately. But yeah, otherwise pretty straightforward install, and I definitely think something that anybody can do. If I can do it, you can do it. So yeah, that's the system, and I purchased this system from OUTBOUND POWER. OUTBOUND POWER is a internet retailer that sells a variety of solar and battery storage products, and one of them is the Anker SOLIX, and they had a great deal on it. I think I got this for $2,300, which normally it's like $2,500 or $2,600, so theirs was the lowest price around, even compared to the manufacturer's website direct. And so they also do some price matching. I actually tried that generator bypass. I think that they had it listed at like $300 or $400, and the manufacturer had it listed for $100 off. So I showed them, and they gave me $100 off right away. It was really a simple process. So OUTBOUND POWER has been great to deal with. I actually had my unit shipped with a broken wheel, one of those rear wheels, and kind of went back and forth with support, and ultimately they sent me a new wheel, and it was a pretty easy process. Initially they weren't able to get a hold of a wheel, and they were going to send me a whole brand new unit, let me send the old one back so that I wasn't without a unit for a long amount of time while they would, if they would normally send it overseas to get repaired. So honestly, the support worked with me really well, and I was happy with the outcome. They did end up ultimately, before that transaction to get the new one sent, they ended up getting a hold of a wheel and got it sent out to me. So Outbound Power was great. Really enjoyed working with them. Received the shipment on time, very, very quick shipment through FedEx. Outbound Power, great company to deal with. I would definitely consider purchasing future products from them. Like I said, I am planning on getting a future F3800 Plus in the distance. So right now, too, I think through the government tax credit, you're able to get 30%. The whole battery system and home power panel and even the sub panels and everything are, according to my CPA, part of that credit. So that's a great benefit as well. That I'll be looking at about 30% off on top of the discounts that Outbound already provided. And I believe, I'm not sure if they're still running this coupon, but if you're new on their site and you haven't done an order before, so for your first order on Outbound Power, I believe you can provide them your email and get 5% off, which is a big chunk when you're purchasing a $2,000+ system, especially once you add on all the accessories and things. So you got a $3,000 total bill, 5% off of that all of a sudden is a decent amount. A lot of areas will save you about on your taxes, so at least the sales tax, and then the 30% tax credit on top of that, really icing on the cake. So can't recommend it enough. The Anker SOLIX, great product, and Outbound Power, great retailer to purchase from. So thanks everyone.